communication? Do you have men and women who think, men and women who love this country and by extension this region and this continent? And on the basis of the evidence that I've seen, we have individuals whose only claim to fame is that they cannot be accused of being intelligent.
To my channel, so the news about RAILA's loss of the AU chairmanship to Mohammed Yusuf has been the trending news topic for the last 4 days in Africa. So PLO Lumumba is one of the people who didn't want him to run for that office in the first place. So he was just giving his reaction 2 days ago on Spice FM. Amongst the ordinary Kenyans, there are some who wanted him to fail so he can come back on the political scene and help them take RUTO off power. There are some who wanted him to win the seat so he can exit the political scene and in the process gain his constituency, that is the guys who vote for RAILA religiously. So let's just see what RAILA had to say after.
My competitor who has won, and I wish him the best. So there will be a lot of blame games that are going to be played. So people are going to say, oh, it is because Baba did not do as much as he expected. Oh, it's because Baba is now tired, because he's too old. All sort of things that maybe because those people used more money than they used. Oh, Ruto just wanted to humiliate Baba. It was not genuine in saying that he was supporting him and so on and so forth. But I made the decision myself and announced that I wanted to run for this position myself. Ruto only came and said he was going to support me when I really did. And I want to say that President Ruto did everything possible. They gave me all the logistical support that we needed. That enabled me to travel around the length and the breadth of the continent and made an appointment for me to meet all the leaders around the continent. And I met all of them. And actually we were sure of it. But this, as I say, other factors have come into play. And those factors are going to come out and will be known. So we are here where we are, but let us not regret. No time for lamentation. On Monday, they had organized a prayer meeting for me at the Bomas of Kenya. The women, orange women. And I told them, we go there, we win to Kishinda, to celebrate. Tukishindwa tutashinda, tutacelebrate. Tukishinda tutashinda. Tukishindwa tutashinda. Tumeshinda. Tumeshinda. And therefore I will not regret it. I will walk with my head tall. There will be another time, and we have so many other things that are available for us to do. So I thank you very much for sacrificing your time, your resources to come and be with me at the setup. Was a setup for celebration. You can all see.
He's a worried guy.
But I would not be telling the truth if I didn't say I am disappointed. I am.
He's the most disappointed. I think he's even more disappointed than RAILA himself.
But I am disappointed because of two things. Number one, I am disappointed that RAILA Amolo Odinga did not win. Because he was the best candidate. And I have a regret
for Africa that they missed an opportunity to be served by the finest of our country. Having said that, I have three things that I'm proud of. Number one, Baba made me very proud. He was the best candidate that we could put forward. He was available. Whenever I booked an appointment, he was there. Whenever he had to travel, he was there. Whenever it was early morning or late evening, he was present. And he was there all the way. As a candidate, I want to tell you, as a politician, I have supported many candidates. Right? On this Africa Union chairmanship, Tinga, Baba exceeded all expectations.
The other presidents didn't think so.
In fact, many people were wondering, even those who initially were complaining that about his age. In fact, the president of Tanzania, 2 weekends ago, told me, "What have you given to Raila? He has become a young man." Because he exhibited a lot of energy. He drove the campaign like it should have happened, and therefore I am very, very proud of you, my brother Raila Odinga. You did not let us down. You did the best. You put your best foot forward.
Oh, there Ruto is battering Raila up because he's banking on his support to win the 2027 elections, because right now he's very, very unpopular. So let's just hear what else PLO had to say.
Odinga was up for that position. Now, we did see the election take place, and it was clear, that the candidate from Djibouti at some point was going to take it, and then it was declared that he had. And then we saw his vice put into place, and then the other, positions filled after that. What was interesting was that before this, there was a lot of speculation about whether Raila Odinga would take this position. And then thereafter, there were many things that were said. We heard things like, then we should split the African Union into two. We heard things like, then you should then know who is your friend and who is your foe. We should then be able to relook and say, what does African unity really mean? Can we do an overview of the events over the weekend from your perspective and what this really actually means to the state of the continent?
Let me say that I'm not one of those who was under any illusions that Mr. Odinga would win. I was clear in my mind that he would lose. And I travel across this continent quite a bit. And what amazed me is that the Raila camp and Kenya by extension assumed that when presidents accorded him the courtesy of meeting them, that amounted to support. This was courtesy. And I can tell you, one or two friends who are heads of state who he said were his supporters said, no, we are affording the man courtesy. And
It's called diplomacy.
And that in itself is indicative of how, as a country, our diplomacy is weak. And this is not the first time that Kenya has found herself in this space. Remember, several years ago, we had Amina Mohammed contesting with Muhammad Faki. And we did almost the same thing. And I'm on record as writing to all heads of state.
Yes.
And telling them, postpone this election, implement the Kagame reforms, have a caretaker task force, and then we can go into elections. I'm also on record as saying publicly that the style that was being employed by Raila Odinga for campaign was not right. This is head of a secretariat, and yet they were marketing it to the Kenyan population that Raila was going to be the president of presidents.
Yes, the president
It is
of
only
Africa.
yesterday that one of the newspapers now said the CEO of the African Union after Mr. Odinga had lost the election. So I think that we made a mistake. And the mistake that was made, number one, was that you fielded a candidate who was not the best candidate. When you are 80 years of age, and I've said this times without number, you don't seek an office of that kind. This
80 is stretching it. And I'm not being an ageist.
This is a CEO's office, which entails a lot of travel, entails a lot of sitting in meetings, fundraising and all. At 80, you ought to retire. Mwalimu Nyerere of Tanzania once said, when he was 63 and he left office, lazima tujue kungatuka. You must know when to leave the office. But the President of the Republic of Kenya saw this as an opportunity effectively to exile Mr. Odinga. Exile him so that he could inherit his political constituency. And you saw...
See, I'm not the only one who thought that.
How RAILA's primary constituency, which is the Luo of Kenya, went gaga when Raila was nominated. Ruto suddenly became a saint, a canonized saint who could do no wrong. And the net effect is that you made Mr. Odinga run round the continent, spent billions of shillings, and this is what has ended up. And to hear people saying that if you voted somebody else other than Mr. Odinga, then that is a justification for the split of the continent of Africa, is juvenile at the very best. Juvenile because if, as is said, you want to create a democratic environment, then you ought to expect to win. I'm glad that Mr. Odinga himself has conceded defeat, so I don't want to listen to his supporters who don't understand the dynamics. I'm glad that the President of the Republic of Kenya has also accepted that the process was properly conducted. So at that level, I don't fault both the Kenyan candidate and the Kenyan president and the Kenyan delegation for conceding defeat. But I was in Addis Ababa on the 11th and 12th, and I knew that the last nail on the coffin had just been drilled in. The conduct of Kenyans, they are singing outside of the headquarters of the African Union, Tawala Africa, Tawala.
That was ghetto.
Yeah, how can you do that? Conversely, the two candidates, one from Madagascar, who was a foreign minister, was dignified in the manner in which he conducted himself. The current chair of ACE, the newly elected YOUSSOUF, was dignified. But you send large delegations of people who are doing nothing.
So if you didn't see how many MPs went, let me just show you from Babu Owino's IG page. You see, even Anyang' Nyong'o was there. Many MPs are there. It was said 100 of them traveled all the way to Djibouti. Even Caswell, the latest ODM recruit, attended.
The hilt, and the net effect is that we see what we have seen. And really, I think that we as a country must re-examine ourselves. If I was the President of the Republic of Kenya, my first act would be to remove my Minister for Foreign Affairs and everybody who was involved, because the diplomatic faux pas that was being committed at all levels during the run-up to these elections is without comparison.
Prof, if I can jump in and ask you that, and I think this is because academics, I mean, we saw this from different, quick publications that were done, even over the weekend and in the run-up to, questioned then the state and the practice of Kenya's foreign policy when it comes to things like this. Like you say, by then it's possible that it was a fait accompli where, like you say, the nail was drilled into the coffin. But what does that say for how then Kenya conducts itself with other nations, and what can actually be done to ensure that you have a proper flowing of this, diplomatic relations, implementation and enactment of foreign policy? Because here we are, and it looks as though, like you said, we still have a few, rungs to climb up in terms of growth.
If you look, and let's give this a historical context, we have always been diplomatically weak. There was only at one instance, not at two instances, when we had Munyo Waiyaki as the Minister for Foreign Affairs in this country, and Robert Ouko.
Right.
There was clarity. When they spoke about something, when they articulated Kenya's position, you saw that there was some kind of attempt to orient Kenya's diplomacy in some direction. We now say that our diplomacy is designed towards economy and trade, but you don't see it articulated. In the region, you've seen in the East African community, when we have taken positions as the East African community, then we go out unilaterally to engage with other countries. We have engaged unilaterally with the United States on critical issues against the grain. We have engaged unilaterally with the European Union. Only recently you saw the president, instead of engaging Cyril Ramaphosa on the DRC, says, I've engaged Macron.
Yeah.
Who wants to engage with Macron?
On African matters.
On African matters. So
Yeah, and I think that's why the SADC nations voted against Kenya.
we have to re-examine ourselves. There was an attempt, let me say this, when Rafael Tuju was the Minister for Foreign Affairs, there was an attempt by him to try and articulate things in a proper manner. But as it is now, I hope that the Kenyan delegation will come back and they will re-examine the manner in which we conduct our affairs. And there's been no shortage of commentators and bloggers. Some, of course, at the behest of the government, some at the behest of the candidate, saying all manner of things. But when all is said and done, we must ask ourselves the question, are we good East Africans? Are we good Africans? Are we good for Africa? When you now say that it is Africa's loss, when members of parliament are saying that one of the things we are going to do is to ask East Africa to withdraw from the African Union because our candidate has lost.
That was daft.
How do you communicate? Do you have a country that has proper communication? Do you have men and women who think, men and women who love this country and by extension this region and this continent? And on the basis of the evidence that I've seen, we have individuals whose only claim to fame is that they cannot be accused of being intelligent.
Rigathi Gachagua posted a message for Raila after he lost his chairmanship. And if you read in between the lines, it's as if he's kind of coaxing Raila. I think he wants Raila to work with him. So his message read, Baba Raila Odinga, you put on a brave fight, elicited energy, resilience, and the indefatigable lion of Africa. You came in the credible second as you held the Kenyan flag high in a hotly contested seat of the AUC chairmanship. You did not lose. The majority had their way. The African and the Kenyan spirit lives on. The leap you made motives the Kenyan optimism and great hope in the continent and the world. Africa needed you most, but God, in his own wisdom, found that Kenya, your motherland, and indeed we Kenyans, your beloved brothers and sisters, have unfinished business with you as their coveted son, as we unshackle our country from recklessness. So this statement right here says what his intentions are. In any case, the outcome of the AU doesn't in any way undermine your leadership and your energy to fix our nation. Welcome back home, our son Raila Odinga. With your head held high, east or west, home is the best. Take heart. You did Kenya proud. Then he posted a photo of him and Raila shaking hands from way back. Youssouf, if we scrutinize his qualifications, he was a worthy contender of that chairmanship. 65, received basic education in Djibouti. Youssouf's further educational journey took him to the UK, France, and Canada. He studied business management at University of Liverpool, obtained his master's degree in management in 1990, wrote his thesis at the Free University in Brussels. His career started in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, headed the Arab Affairs Department during 90s, served as ambassador to Egypt from 97 to 2001. Then Youssouf was appointed as Minister Delegate for International Cooperation on 4th of July 2001. Subsequently appointed as Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation in 2005. In 2006, he visited Japan 2008, he served as chairman of the 129th Ordinary Session of Council of Foreign Minister of the Arab League. Youssouf has played important roles in the international diplomacy, especially in the Horn of Africa. Speaking to the New York Times in 2008, Youssouf said that although Djibouti was a small country, it had a sizable port and hoped to develop its economy along the same lines as Dubai. He highlighted the country's strategic location, which he asserted was better positioned than Dubai. And he's also young. I think he's only, is it 59? Yeah, so he's young enough to run around. So whether we like it or not, RAILA was old. And just like Lumumba has said, I think it's time for him to exit the political field. He needs to be now a consultant and write his memoirs like Lumumba suggested. So just let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Like and share this video. If you're not subscribed to my channel, please consider doing so. Thank you for stopping by and see you on the next one. Bye for now.